If you haven't played Monster Hunter or you don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to Monster Hunter, this video is not for you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to cater to the Monster Hunter community. Thank you. Well, been 2 weeks since Monster Hunter Rise released. I've got 50 hours into the game. I've got some thoughts, mostly good things, a couple of things I'm a little middle on, and some things that Capcom you can't be led to get away with. Now, in this video, it's going to be a little different than what you might expect because going through a lot of gameplay footage to show the really specific things I'm talking about can take way longer than this video has time to make. And the other reason we're making this is because the day 2 and day 3 videos of the first week of me playing are pushed back a little bit because of some production issues. So let's talk about Monster Hunter Rise and have some fun, goofy antics while we're doing so. We're gonna go over the things that I like first, and then go kind of like down the order, lesser and lesser, of what isn't so good and what actively I think is bad. So first on the list here, the pacing and the grind of this game, to me, feels like the best it's been, even better than Gen Ultimate. The village quests are very fun. They're a really good opener to where they're very easy if you're used to Monster Hunter, but I also think that they're that level of easy to get people introduced to it. And I like the idea that these fights are made to be solo like they've always done, because an easy village quest is going to get a lot of new players into the game, and they'll get a little frustrated, but there's a lot less hitting. You know, armors have a lot of better defense until you get to the later end of low rank, and by that point, most people who stick with the game will have found a weapon or a couple of weapons that they're really, really good with, so the evolution of seeing new players get in feels like it has the potential to do a lot of good. And as someone like me who wanted to be able to switch around my skills and my playstyle and really figure out stuff that's different in this game, I appreciated the fact that I didn't have to try as hard in low rank to understand what I was doing, at least not until things like Magnum Hollow came in, which low rank Magnum Hollow was a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. But now that I'm into high rank, things are kicking my ass in the most beautiful way. And just like any good Monster Hunter game, you have to deal with the fact that you just need to make your armors better. You have so many ways. That actually reminds me. You have so many ways of getting armor spheres, so many side quests, so many different things going on, optional things that just happen over time. You end up building up so many armor spheres. You have so many ways of going to the Buddy Plaza and having them work around gears. I'm going to get more into that anyway, but the way this game is built from early on into late, the pacing is beautiful. There's so much to explore. The game incentivizes you to explore and try things out. It's so good at baby stepping you until you go into a full Sonic Boom sprint. I shouldn't have said Sonic Boom. I should have just said Sonic, but now it's too late. Even as much as I love Gen Ultimate, it still felt like a lot of the monsters were kind of the standard of they're going to hit hard, you're not really going to be given much of a chance unless you just get good with the weapons and the styles. I don't remember feeling like the game ever really babied me. I just had to start learning how to use my skills. Like, even lower monsters from Gen Ultimate or Generations would kick your ass if you didn't know what you were doing. Which was fine for me because I've been playing the game since Generations, and I even went back and played well, not a majority, I played like the main story of 4 Ultimate, so I wasn't completely going in blind by that point, and going back now, it's just like riding a bike. But with this, I like the idea that it's giving more people chances to play and enjoy it at a lower level. And I also love that high rank isn't a joke. No, high rank will fuck you up. Some of the monsters that you've seen even before in the main game of, in low rank, will come back and they'll have slightly different moves. They'll have slightly different patterns. They'll pause a little more and do that little like, yeah, you thought I was gonna, oh. And it feels like a natural progression into the higher rank stuff. And then of course, once you realize, hey, wait a minute, I don't have my armor fully chopped up. I don't have armors that are actually catering to my playstyle. I don't have the power and the defense charm. I should go look into those things. Like, I was literally fighting the Anjanath, which, my god, out of all of the world monsters, Puke and Anjanath are 2 of my favorites, and it was so cool to see Anjanath be in high rank. Like, this big boy deserves to be a high rank monster. This was great. But basically, when I fought Anjanath for the first time in high rank, it kicked my ass. I had to abandon the quest and go back and go, alright, I'm doing something very, very wrong because I'm not playing optimally. I'm making very dumb mistakes, and it feels like I'm healing more than I need to. What am I doing wrong? Sure enough, I had looked, I'm like, oh, shit, I thought I upgraded my armor. Nope. So, you know, you learn, and by that point in the high ranks, you have to take what you've learned, and it's just the progression is so solid and so perfect the way it is. It's better than any other Monster Hunter game, and I think it's just so good for it, which kind of leads into my first major issue with people just looking at it going, this game is so difficult for new players, and those same people just not reading instructions or not fiddling around. Please, if you get anything from this video, at least from this first part of me rambling, explore the controls, read the notes, read the instructions, and watch some videos. Which leads me into my second thing that I love about Monster Hunter Rise right now is how well the community is coming together. You've got Eric's and his crew coming together, showing us all the different ways to play the game and finding some really good discoveries. Like, I was so excited when he found out, or I actually don't know if it was Eric's or if it was 269. Basically, when one of them figured out that Serene Pose is fucking great. Everyone thought this, like, pause, counter, wait for the enemy to attack, and then swah! We all thought that move was going to be completely useless. Basically, it was the same move that we've seen in Generations Ultimate, but in this one, it costs 2 wire bugs to use, which is kind of fine because, like, the first wire bug recovers fairly quickly, at least compared to, like, a Helm Breaker or using Sakura Slash, which I'm also very, very glad is in the game. But at the same time, you think that, and you're gonna lose, you know, your sharpness level, so from the best being red to yellow to white to nothing. You know, it really made us all wonder, was it going to be really worth it? And in fact, it is, because they found out that you're able to do crap tons of damage and go right into a spirit combo. Just the fact that the community is coming together and teaching and exploring and finding things and sharing it with people from different ways of getting a lot of money and points to figuring out all the different skills that are available. Just coming together is so fun to see the community do, and everyone looking at these things and saying, oh, I want to try that now, or I'm gonna learn how to do that, and no one having this superiority of, well, I found it, so I'm the expert. It's like, hey, I found this thing, and then someone else comes along and says, cool, I perfected that thing. Thank you for telling us it existed. Which brings up the next bit. The maps are fantastic, and I will slap anybody who says the game is bad with its graphics. Okay, look, if you don't feel the game is good because the graphics are a little too muddied, you're an elitist. I'm just gonna say it. You're being way too elitist. If you don't like that the game is a little too muddied, that's different. You can very much have this whole, oh, well, that's a little annoying. I kind of wish this game looked better. Like, that I can completely understand, but to say, this game is weak because it doesn't have leaves that have bristles on them. I have to pick all those up now for the sake of a fucking joke. The last two things I want to really praise about this game are Palico's, Palamute, and the Apex fights. Palico's and Palamutes, the way that they're done here is way more engaging. I love that the Meowcenaries are back and able to get different monster parts and ores and such, which I know that was technically there in Monster Hunter World, but it didn't have the same pizzazz to it. It didn't feel like your monster, it didn't feel like your pets were going out and going on their own separate hunts and coming back with stuff. You just sent them, and there was no fun little animation going on. But now, a leader of the Meowcenaries picks up a giant fan and says, "Begone!" and just blows them away. And it's fun, it's cute. The submarine trading, I really like how it's set up right now to where the more leveled up your Palico or Palamute come in, the more they can do different kinds of trade, whether it be faster, whether it's focusing on more rare materials, or whether it's just getting as much as you can, which really incentivizes you to focus on training them. And all of this is better than Generations, where you're mitigating your time and your resources. But obviously they learned from Generations where, oh, players are just hiring a bunch of cats to circumvent having to take their cat naps. And I like that everything is still on a timer, so you still have to wait for resources. So, yeah, it's just streamlined stuff that I loved in Generations on such a high level. And they're all so useful. The skills, the traps, the boosts that some of the, like, Palagos and Palamutes both give you different boosts when they're with you, which means you really can't go wrong. You have so much customization in this. Oh, and the switch skills. Look, I could make an entire video about how much I love the switch skills alone, but understand that if you're playing this game, or you've seen anything about the switch skills, most of them really make the game different. There's a lot of debate over how to play certain things. Just with the weapons that I focus on, like Charge Blade, Dual Blades, Long Sword, and yeah, there is a lot that really helps make customization of the game. And in truth, while I know that there's going to be speedrunners, unlike in World, where it feels like you are just stuck with whatever the weapon has, and you have to learn to really get good with it, which is fine. I understand why people like that, but as someone who's, like, started with Generations, it's so good. So good to see almost everything being used being viable, even if it's not the best version of playing. You can have fun with this game. You have choice. It's fun again. World was interesting, it was entertaining, but I never would say that World was fun. Because if you didn't like the weapon, which I didn't like a lot of them, mostly because I have an old PS4, and I think hitboxes were weird in World compared to this game. We're gonna get into that. There is something to be said about how much you have for choice in this game and how much it really compels through. You've got, again, you have choice with the village quest, the hub quest, the Palagos, the ways you fight. This game is all about choice. Oh, please. I know we're gonna lose wire bugs in the next game, but could we please keep the switch skill system in the next mainline game? Please, this is such an innovation of how Monster Hunter works. Please keep it. So, yeah, I'm really in love with Monster Hunter Rise so far, and I really hope that when the updates come out, I can officially say that it's better than Generations and knocks World out of the fucking water for me personally. But now we gotta talk about the things that I'm not a big fan of, and the first one's kind of this weird nitpick for me. Why the fuck are the credits so early in the game? I know that's a thing with Monster Hunter, even all the way back in 4 Ultimate, and I know probably further back with 4 Ultimate's like the earliest game I have context for. The credits show up really early in the game, even though you have so much more stuff to check out, so much more of the high rank, so many more quests, so many more story that's still available. But in Rise, it really is jarring when it just pops up out of nowhere. I would not be surprised if people who are new to Monster Hunter played this game and saw the credits and went, yeah, I did great. Put the game down, and then the next day they said, hey dude, you wanna go play Monster Hunter? Nah, I feel pretty confident. You know, the game's over, I'm done. Next thing to talk about is those hitboxes I mentioned. A majority of the hitboxes, in my opinion, in this game are pretty solid. If you see it, the way a monster's going to move and hit you, you see it. You definitely can expect it. But there are some hitboxes that are fucking stupid. Like, in the demo, I was really hoping they would fix this, but like, Mizu, one of its attacks is when, if you're up behind it, Mizu, like, lurches up and does this, and then, blah, like, launches himself at you. And even if you're behind him, even though the tail's not swishing back and forth and making like a hitting motion, it's just there, you get knocked backwards. And it's still in the finished game. But like, there are definitely some hitboxes that need some tweaking or need an update. as we get more patches, and frankly, especially when we get some DLC. I would very much like to see those patched beforehand, but I don't expect them until the G rank and Master rank, and god damn it, there better be a Master and G rank in this game. Oh, like, we're going to talk about the condition of this game in a bit, but my god, do I want a Master rank. This game deserves that level of, like, craziness with how fun the gameplay is at its core. Now, to kind of caveat that, I can see the hitboxes, though. Now, what I mean, I don't actually see the lines, but, like, you can see what's hitting you. You understand how the monster's hitting you, and that's probably what's infuriating a lot of people, is they are looking at that and they're saying, that shouldn't be hitting me, but I can visibly see it's hitting me, and I can even see where it's hitting me. Why? But in the counterpoint of that is, unlike with World, again, I played on a mainline like a base PS4 with Wi-Fi, so this might be more on me. But in World, I could never see the hitboxes. I could never tell why I was getting hit with certain things versus rolling or even blocking. I could get so infuriated when Rajang seemed to somehow bust through my Charge Blade shield when it looks like he literally went over me and bopped me on the back of the head, but I could face him sideways and he'll go the other direction and it will block. Okay, it's an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like sometimes in World. I couldn't quite grasp how some of the monsters were hitting me, and I could never see the hitboxes. But on the Switch, whether it be because this game isn't as heavy on its graphics or it's not as intensive a game, it's a lot easier to see the hitboxes. The game is much slower in its approach to fighting. I didn't mention this before, but a lot of the monsters, like I was mentioning, like, lean us up, there's a lot of pausing, and something that's kind of interesting is in comparison to something like Generations or even 4, there was wind up and then burst through, and in World, there was really fast wind up and then burst through. In this, it's, like I said, boom! It just happens, and you get used to it, but I really like it. I really like how they're managing to make this combat a little bit slower at times, and then all of a sudden when they're enraged and they just lose their shit. It really makes you have to think and learn the fight rather than just going crazy and just hitting them. The next two things are Switch skills are not all made equal, and I kind of hope that Apex fights will be able to be done in solo hunts down the road. Well, to go with the Apex one pretty quick, I love the hell out of the Rampage mode, everything about it. Again, I could make an entire video about just Rampage mode on its own. Understand that the tower defense Monster Hunter game that I never knew I wanted exists, and I love the shit out of it. And I love that the Apex monsters exist in the Rampage mode and really make that mode hard but fair. But I do hope that down the road we have a system where we unlock an Apex monster for a one-on-one confrontation.
Fight!
And we have to unlock them by doing the tower defense game, doing the Rampage mode. If we don't, it's not the end of the world, but I really feel like this game could get a lot of mileage out of letting us do a one-on-one fight with just the Apex fights. Maybe it could be an arena fight, maybe the Apex are actually out in the wild. Either way, I think it would be a lot of fun if we could unlock those for just normal hunts and not just Rampage. I think it's limiting the potential of these fights. Again, even if Rampage is fucking fun. And then, as I was saying, not all Switch skills are made equally, and this is kind of the same issue that Generations had. There were definitely some moves that you would never use compared to others, like, you'd have so many powerful hit moves or easy reload moves, but you would never use instant evade unless, you know, like, you had a skill that would just let you immediately evade. Like, there were skills in Generations that had absolutely no use, and in the Rise, I don't want to say that they don't have any use. They are working. They are things that can be used, but I don't always think that they always work. Like, for instance, Dual Blades has this move where you can launch yourself up to the air with a wire bug. But why not just use the aerial style then? Why not just use the aerial move that comes with one of the other Switch skills that Dual Blades has. Or with Hunting Horn is a really good example for me personally. Why use the Cocoon? Like, Hunting Horn's already so simplified right now that you can either just stack up your music, play it, and then go back to bashing for a while, or just take the Unga Bunga route and double note everything and play your music while you're beating the shit out of something. The Cocoon isn't that useful. It doesn't do nearly as much damage as just like taking your fucking guitar, bopping a monster on the head, and then strumming it into a guitar solo and exploding the sound waves in their face. It doesn't do nearly as much damage even over a period of time. The most that I can see it being used for is a more defensive or support build, because, you know, you get free attack up with whatever horn you're using, and that's nice. And if you're doing healing music, that can also be a lot of help there too. I just feel like the trade-off isn't worth it though. There's a lot of things that I haven't actually explored yet, and like I said earlier on with the community, maybe people would come up with really cool aspects that make all of these things work. Again, Serene Pose was seen as garbage, and now all of a sudden, just the light at the end of the tunnel. So maybe more stuff will become more available. Maybe there's some aspects of these switch skills that I'm not seeing, and have no problems with you guys telling me in the comments below. The last things to talk about are the things that I'm actually kind of pissed about with this game. And I'm gonna try not to come off as rude on this, because I feel like what I'm about to say can be misconstrued. So if we need to have a conversation in the comments, or on my Discord, or on Twitter, I'm up for it. This game should not have been released in the state that it's in. I'm not talking hitboxes. I'm not talking monster variety. I'm not even talking endgame, though that's a little bit of the issue. This game should have been held back, should have waited until it released. It, like, really was ready to release with all of the content. Because now we're in this state of limbo where a couple of things are in play. One, we have to really trust that the developers are not being overworked and are still going to produce a good endgame. There are two big patches, guys. One coming at the end of April, and one we don't even know when it's coming out yet. That's the one that's got me the most terrified for how this game is going to end up in the end. As much as I want a master rank, that second patch is being worked on still by the dev team, which means a G rank or a master rank is probably nowhere in sight right now, because they had to focus on that. Now, I'm making a lot of assumptions with this, but that's why I'm kind of worried, because when you think about it, Rise released in an incomplete state. No, it's not as bad as Cyberpunk, but I feel like things like the Apex weapons have a lot of problems. Yeah, you have a lot of customization you can potentially do, but the sharpness levels don't work, and sharpness boosting just boosts the orange and the yellow, not, you know, green, blue, and white. And I just think, why? Why is it built that way? Is that a bug? Is that made on purpose? God, I hope that's not made on purpose. Or is there an aspect of the Apex weapons we don't see yet because it's not finished? That's the kind of logic. And then you add in the fact that there are some people complaining that endgame isn't really doing it for them because there technically is no endgame yet. They've gotten the armors, they've played this game a shit ton more than me, and they've grinded for their charms, and they're just starting to finally hit that wall where they're fighting the same monsters over and over again, and they've played all the weapons they want. I don't always like the excuse of, well, just play a different weapon, you guys, because sometimes you just don't like weapons. Some weapons you just don't really click with and you don't care about, and forcing yourself to play a game that you like just to play an aspect that you don't is dumb. Like, at the core of it, it is dumb. You should try other weapons. You should try in your best to see if you like them, but if you get to a point where you've picked 4 or 5 weapons, or even, hell, 2 or 3, and you really enjoy those, and none of the other weapons are doing it for you, then that's it. That's the end of the game for you for now. And that shouldn't have been how this game released, because it's just not Monster Hunter to do that. Now, you add that again on top of the fact of, we don't know what's coming. We don't know if the dev team is being overworked, because Capcom wanted to push this game out for their tri-quarter, you know, to get money at the end of their tax season or something. I'm not a business person. I'm Gokuing it up really hard right now. But, like, it seems like a business decision to make money to push this game out, which, I mean, 5 million sales, it worked. And I'm just concerned that the team's being overworked. This is going to set a bad precedence for new Monster Hunter games in the future. And we're going to start making it to where it's a slippery slope downward where the games just keep having less and less and less on the excuse of, oh, but there's a free update, when the game should have come with it. And to kind of elaborate on what we mean by endgame, we're not just talking like monsters and charms and stuff. There's no layered armor. There's really, there's no big crazy monsters. You know, we're gonna have Apex Rathalos, which, oh baby, but it's potentially that's gonna be the only like what the fuck monster we might see, because we just don't know, and not knowing with everything that's going on is very terrifying. And the fact that layered armors weren't there, that some of the hitboxes are a little wonky, that there is so much that's not really making sense currently, that's what we mean by late game. These later end things for customization and for fun, that even when you have the best stuff, that's not what you're really going for. You're going for the charms, for the experiences, for the outfits, and a lot of it's not there, or it's not being done very well, and it just makes you wonder. But I can't deny that I've had a fucking blast with this game. I just can't. This is exactly what I would have wanted of a game that I truly feel is a spiritual successor to Generations, while adapting all of the good stuff that came from World, which, even though I shit on the game, a lot of good stuff came from World. Can't deny that at all. So yes, I am in love with this game, and I'm only 50 hours in. I have so much more armor, so much more charm hunting, so much more everything to jump into. There is so much, but it's starting to dwindle. And I'm really hoping the end of April shows off what the dev team really wanted. But I hope we never repeat this again if we can help it. Just let the game finish before you release it, Capcom. You knew what you were doing. But that is my overall thoughts on Monster Hunter Rise so far. I'm not deeply into high rank yet. I think I'm in rank 6, haven't broken 7 yet. I'm taking time trying to farm and make multiple different sets with different weapons, because as much as I love Longsword, I don't want to be stuck in a point where I'm only using Longsword while playing with other friends, which you can check me out on Twitch and join us for farming runs. Eventually, I'm going to be doing things like challenge runs, like Slimesicle recently did, and like an old friend So Hellkite used to do, which I really hope he's playing this game, and I might be able to convince him to play sometime. Who knows? I'm not making promises. Don't hold it to me, or else he might hate me forever. But there's a lot of things I want to show off. Day 2 and Day 3 videos will be coming out soon, and then after that, it's going to be more of just different videos of different hunts with different things around them. Not just showing off the entire game. I don't have the production time to do that. And I'll see you guys in the future for future videos. And again, check me out on Twitch, and we'll have a lot of fun playing together. Good night.